Hello, everybody. David Shuster here. The Trump White House talking points in the economy have now gotten so absurd that even conservative pundits in the media are ridiculing the Trump team. The latest example came on CNBC. Host Joe Kernen, who is usually a strong Trump supporter and cheerleader, bashed Trump economic advisor Kevin Hassett over the White House's ongoing claims that prices are falling.
The president is constantly saying prices have come down. Now, inflation is still 3%. It's still too high. Now, oil prices, energy prices, there are certain things where they have come down. But when you keep saying prices are falling, that's not true because inflation is still, the 3% is on top of all the inflation we had during the Biden years. So we got all that inflation plus an additional 3%. And we should, I think you should admit that.
You, the White House, should admit that inflation is up. But in the Trump administration, there is no such thing as admitting anything is wrong or not perfect or not the best ever. So Kevin Hassett tried to reframe Joe Kernen's points.
A more precise way to say it, though, Joe, is that purchasing power has gone up. And so real wages, that's W divided by P for our technical people in the audience, have gone up by about $1,200 this year. So the way to think about it is that we've dug a $3,000 hole because of Biden policies, and we've gained $1,200 on the way out already, which should give you a great deal of hope for the future that the wage increases that we're seeing will continue. And even if inflation stays positive, make it so that people feel way better when they go to the grocery store and to buy a car.
Except that when you go to buy a new car or groceries or most anything else, the prices are way up. And the purchasing power that Hassett mentioned, the rise in wages, is not keeping up. In other words, even if the purchasing power of an American family has gone up by, say, $1,200, that $1,200 buys a lot less groceries and other products than before Trump took office. And everything a family purchased last year has now seen increases in prices that, taken together, amount to well above the $1,200 wage increase. In other words, the rise in prices and inflation for basic needs is putting more and more Americans in a financial hole, even with their wages rising. One of the sharpest increases recently has been with the price of beef. Ground beef and steak prices are up by 15% since Donald Trump took office. And the CEO of Omaha Steak says the cost per pound next year could reach $10 a pound. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent recently appeared on Fox News and stumbled through a series of excuses.
The beef market is a very specialized market. It goes in long cycles, and this is the perfect storm. Again, something we inherited, and there's also, because of the mass immigration, a disease that we've been rid of in North America, made its way up through South America. As these migrants, they have brought some of their cattle with them. So part of the problem is we've had to shut the border to Mexican beef because of this disease called the screwworm. So we're not going to let that get into our supply chain.
Did you follow that? Beef prices are skyrocketing because immigrants from South America are bringing their cattle with them, smuggling the livestock across the border, and those cattle are diseased. This is what happens when you run out of economic arguments. You just start inventing barnyard fan fiction. Now, there is a sliver of this that has some truth. Trump Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins did suspend Mexican cattle imports to the United States due to screwworm concerns. But there's no evidence that South American migrants have been bringing cattle across the U.S.-Mexico border. Economists, at least those who do not work for Donald Trump, say the rise in beef prices has been caused by the Trump tariffs on beef from Brazil, Australia, New Zealand, Uruguay, as well as feed, farm equipment, and farm machinery imported into the United States from countless countries. Admitting any of that, however, is not allowed in the Trump White House. So we keep getting absurd claims from Treasury Secretary Bessent, economic advisor Kevin Hassett, and President Trump himself.
Prices are down under the Trump administration, and they're down substantially. The reason I don't want to talk about affordability is because everybody knows that it's far less expensive under Trump than it was under Sleepy Joe Biden, and the prices are way down.
Nonpartisan fact checkers say none of that is true. They note the data shows prices are up during the Trump administration. There has been inflation every single month in the Trump administration, and the pace of inflation has accelerated for 5 consecutive months. In September, inflation hit an annual rate of 3%. That's a higher annual inflation rate than at the end of the Biden administration. But there is Donald Trump saying that every single price is down. Well, unlike Treasury Secretary Bessent and economic advisor Hassett, who are at least offering misleading claims with some nuance, Donald Trump is delivering full-on obvious lies. Every single price is down? Data from the Consumer Price Index shows thousands of individual products with price increases since President Trump took office. The fact is, prices are up, not down. Most American families know that, and even Donald Trump's conservative supporters in the media, who are usually cheerleaders for him, are sick of the absurd Trump White House claims. By the way, Republican Congresswoman Virginia Foxx of North Carolina, one of Donald Trump's most reliable supporters in the U.S. House, recently got ridiculed in epic fashion over the government shutdown.
Ms. Ansari, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Welcome back from your 8 weeks of taxpayer-funded vacation. It's good to see you, and I hope
I'm going to interrupt you.
Republicans
I'm going to
enjoy-
interrupt you, please. I am sick and tired of hearing you all say we had an 8-week vacation.
That's exactly what happened.
I worked every day. I don't know about you, but I don't want to
worked
hear
every single
another
day as
soul
well. We all worked
say
every
that.
single day, and that's exactly what happened with Speaker Mike Johnson.
You're recognized.
Check out that video at the link below. I'm David Shuster. Thanks for joining us.